Hello and welcome. This morning I come out to the shack and I found this piece of equipment sitting at my front door. And I know the gentleman that dropped it off. He told me he had one, had no use for it, and was going to drop it off and see if I wanted it for parts. And what this is a national NC155 receiver. It covers the 6 meters through 80 meter hand bands. The radio has RF gain, an antenna coupler, the band switch, the function for AM, ANL, single sideband CW, a selectivity switch, receive standby, off on volume switch, and a BFO that's labeled lower sideband and upper sideband. So as I was looking at it, I said also has a calibrator and an S meter. So I'm wondering, is it possible that this whole thing still works? Well, I've already removed the top. I'm looking at it, and as you can see, it's very crusty, real dirty. It's not in too bad a shape. Not what I was expected to be. 50-some years, 54 years old. So not too bad, just a lot of dust. And you can see all the old tubes. This receiver is a dual conversion receiver. On the back you have an accessory socket, your speakers, and your antenna connector. So I've already turned it on and brought it up on the variac, and there's no receive, no noise. All the controls seem to be working. I haven't cleaned anything, haven't done anything to it, so we just wanted to test it out and see what we can find. When I get an old piece of equipment like this, after I brought it up on the variac, and I don't see no capacitors blow out, I'm pretty much happy with it. And I like to go in and start with the power supply. This is your primary side, and coming off on this side is your filaments. And I've looked, and all the filaments are lighting up, so that's good. So here we have the filament for the rectifier tube, which is a 5Y3 GT. It's 2V9. This is your high voltage, and the center tap is grounded, and your filament voltage, and your output comes DC off of the pin 2 of the filament voltage. So we're probably going to have somewhere around 250 volts on this side, and we should, as we go down through here, through these resistors, we should have 160 volts, and off of this OB2 regulator to V10 we should be getting somewhere around 105 volts. So the first thing I want to do is check these voltages and see if they're there. So we're looking at the bottom side of the receiver under V9, which is the regulator, and first thing I notice is this big 10 watt resistor. Now that makes me wonder about, I think someone has changed the transformer in this, and what they've done, they've added a resistor on the output to drop the voltage. I have the voltmeter grounded to the chassis, since we know the center tap of the transformer is grounded, so we're going to check each leg of the AC side of the transformer. And we have approximately 270 volts AC on each leg of the transformer. I said before, it usually should be around 250 volts. So I'm thinking someone has changed this to a different transformer that has a higher output, so they used a dropping resistor. Now let's go over to DC and let's check the output of this and see what we have. Well, that's interesting. We're showing about 0.7 volts on the output of that rectifier. Also looking here under V10, which is the OB2 regulator tube. As you can see, there's a 5-watt resistor here that's been slightly hot. A little more than slightly hot. And this is on pin 1, which would be the plate of the tube. The schematics say there should be a 2.2K at 2 watts. So this has been changed also. So what I'm thinking is, since there is no DC output, that this tube is probably has gone bad and quit. So let's pull that tube and put a new one in and see what we get. Okay, so I changed out that rectifier tube with a new 5Y3, and let's see what our DC output voltage is now. That's 244 volts on this side of the resistor, and it really needs to be down below 200 volts. And we have 194.9 volts feeding the circuit. So what we want to do now is check the plate of the regulator tube. And I'm showing 189 volts, and that is way too high. Yes, this regulator tube is showing me basically a dead short. So let's drop another OB2 tube in there and see what we get. So I've replaced that regulator tube. Now let's see what kind of voltage we're getting. About 119 to 120 volts. 144 on the other side of the resistor. And the input is 119. That's a whole lot more manageable voltage. So I want to connect the antenna and the speaker and see if we get anything out of this radio. Well, as you can hear, the old radio is alive, and this is just by changing 2 tubes and not doing any cleaning to the controls or switches or anything. So I say this old girl is worthy of a restore. So we'll tear it apart and clean it up. I think the chassis is not too bad on the inside, so we should be able to get it back polished and shiny. And I don't worry too much about the little rust spots and the scratches and stuff on the front. Well, we'll clean up all the knobs and controls and make them look nice, but I like to leave the patina on it because it makes it look like it's used, and it is used. It's not new, so we can't expect for it to be new. I think when people go in and repaint these radios and clean them spotless, that, you know, you're taking away a lot of the history from the radio. And it looks like someone at one time had this radio for sale for $60. and it just kind of showed up on my doorstep. So anyway, I thought I would show you this and show you how easy it can be to get some of this old stuff up and going without doing a lot of work just to test it, so we know which way to go. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the thumbs up button, and we'll catch you next time.